Managing your stamina in NTE can be confusing early on because the game gives you a lot of different menus on top of farming stages very quickly. You have character ascension, ability materials, console modules, EXP, beetle coins, dyes, arc materials, weekly stages, and multiple exchange shops, but what's unfortunate is that if you aren't careful, you could be missing many details or facts that could actually save you stamina if you use them properly. So in today's video, we'll be going over what each stage is used for, what you should prioritize first, what becomes more important later and earlier, and which shops you should check before farming. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed or learned something from today's video. And now, a word from today's sponsor, Enjoy GM. If you're planning to top up in Neverness to Everness, new users get an extra 8% coupon after registering. Enjoy GM offers discounted Rift Crystals with up to 22% off first-time purchases, and with this, depending on your region, stacking Enjoy GM's discount with the 8% coupon will mean that the 6,480 Rift Crystal package can actually drop to around 78 USD. Of course, the actual prices and offers may vary by region though. The process of doing so is actually pretty simple. First, bind an email to your NTE account in-game, then on Enjoy GM, enter the same in-game email, the password used only for top-up verification, and select your server. Now, as a side note, this information is only used for the recharge process and is not stored, and if you're worried about safety, you can always change your password right after the top-up process is completed. Enjoy GM is also PCI DSS certified and has many positive Trustpilot reviews, so check the link in the description and join their official Discord for extra discounts, giveaways, and updates, and thank you again to Enjoy GM for sponsoring today's video. Now, the first thing you should care about is Anomaly Hunt. This is where you farm character ascension materials, and it's very important very quickly. The game gives you an okay amount early on, but once you start ascending multiple characters, you'll notice that you run out pretty quickly. One useful thing though is the game does show you how many materials that you'll need for the next ascension, and so before your account actually hits the level cap, check a character's next ascension material requirement and farm these materials preemptively. That way, once they reach the cap, you can ascend them immediately instead of getting stuck. Now, if your main character is level capped and you can't ascend them though, Anomaly Hunt should basically become your top priority. This is for a number of reasons, including increasing your base stats to begin with, but once your characters are at the current level cap, the next thing that you'll want to improve is their skills. Now, ability upgrade materials are one of the other things that you'll want to farm seriously as well. Upgrading skills is one of the best and most direct ways to make your character stronger, especially for the characters that you use every day, but the important thing here, of course, is to just not farm these materials randomly. Each character needs specific materials, so before spending stamina, once again, open the menu for the character that you're building, check what their skills require, and farm the correct stage. Now, though that is pretty obvious and straightforward, you should know that early game ability materials are a very high priority. Later on, you mostly come back to these whenever you build a new character or need to finish specific skill upgrades, but after ascension and skills, the next priority you have is making sure your characters have usable modules. Console farming, on that note, is worth doing fairly early on if you're planning to push beyond the rails or harder content, but that said, I definitely wouldn't go for perfect pieces right away, even if you're just using this to get a usable set to make things easier. At first, since you can't properly farm gold modules, your goal should be pretty simple. Get the correct main stats, activate the right sets with the specified modules, and make your characters functional. You can do this with the modules that you're already given, or with the modules that you can summon, but once you have usable main stats and set effects, you can stop and go back to other priority resources. As a side note, while you're farming for console stages, you also get manhole currency, which is used to upgrade your modules, which is an important detail that you should keep in mind. Now, regarding your modules though, it's also recommended to dismantle the module that you're not planning on using if you're looking for more manhole currency, and with this, you should not use your old upgraded modules directly to upgrade your new pieces. Basically though, your goal should be to farm enough consoles to make your characters usable, then return when you're ready to optimize and have enough resources to actually farm gold materials. Once your characters have ascension, skills, and basic modules covered though, this is when we start to look at more general resources. Now, after you farm for pretty much everything else that we've talked about before, you'll likely start to get low on the following resources. And this of course is in reference to hunter guides, beetle coins, and dyes. Hunter guides are used to level your characters, while beetle coins are used in pretty much all upgrade systems in general. Beetle coins, however, are probably one of the stages that you'll actually end up farming the most in the later stages of the game, because again, pretty much every upgrade asks for them, and they start to scale in value quite a lot by the time that you reach the level 70s or 80s. That said, early on, the game does give you a decent amount of both the hunter guides and beetle coins, so I wouldn't necessarily dump all of your stamina there immediately, and instead, I would farm them when you're actually gated. Meanwhile, dye materials again are used for arc upgrades, so if you've collected a bunch of S-class arcs and if you've run out of dye, farming this stage is pretty worthwhile too. After this, however, Arc Ascension becomes more relevant once you start running out of everything that we've talked about above. Now, as the name implies, Arc Ascension materials are used to, well, ascend your arcs, but this is usually lower priority early on. Now, you've probably already guessed or seen this already, but the reason for this is that the game gives you a good amount at the start, so unless an arc upgrade is directly blocking you, I actually wouldn't rush farm for this too early. It does become much more important later on once you start building multiple arcs and your free materials start to run out, but in terms of priority, arc materials are really only farmed when necessary, or if you're really trying to upgrade several arcs at a time, which isn't necessarily the case. That said, for late game, you should definitely expect this to become a regular stamina sink, and this is kind of similar to what you'll expect with skill upgrades, where you need to check what sort of material your arc needs before farming. Now, aside from normal stamina stages, there's actually one last system that we don't want to forget. Anomaly Pilgrimage is the last and one of the most important systems that we need to talk about, because this is something that you'll need to do 3 times every week. Both of the stages that we have access to right now are relevant, so you should definitely farm depending on the character skill or the upgrade that you're trying to complete depending on your character. Before this though, as usual, check the material that you need, but as an important side note, your Anomaly Pilgrimage does scale with your account level. So ideally you want to do these runs near the end of the week when your account is as high as possible, and that way you can farm the highest difficulty available and get better value from your weekly entries. Before you spend your stamina too heavily though, there's actually also a few shops that I did want to mention that you should check so you can potentially get additional resources. Now let's take a moment to talk about the exchange shops, as this is pretty impactful for your overall resource management. The first system I want to talk about though is the Hunter Exchange. You can find a lot of the resources that I mentioned previously in this video here, and there are even extra things that you can find like development materials, which are basically only found from here. So if you're missing something, it's always worth checking the Hunter Exchange first before spending stamina, and then of course you have the Lost Exchange shop found in the Fair Exchange tab. This uses currency that you get from summoning, and it can also help you pick up useful resources, of course, without spending stamina, assuming you have enough from having pulled for characters. As a side note, I would prioritize buying the Anomaly Material Selection box, since these materials, to my knowledge, are near impossible otherwise to farm. And finally, you should check out the Mode shop. You get this currency from having cleared high-risk commissions and from the Beyond the Rails game mode, and the shop also has materials that can help with progression. Now, these shops won't replace farming by any means, but they can, like other gachas, save you a lot of stamina if you use them properly. But to recap everything, your priorities should look like the following. First, farm Anomaly Hunt when you need to ascend your characters, then farm ability materials for the characters that you're actively building. After this, consider farming console until you have usable main stats and set effects, then consider farming hunter guides, beetle coins, or dye only when you're gated. Now, aside from all this, again, the only recommendation that I normally have is that Arc Ascension is likely going to be lower priority early, but becomes more important once you reach the later stages of NTE. However, above all else, don't forget to use your 3 weekly Anomaly Pilgrimage runs, ideally near the end of the week when you are the highest level. Finally though, again, make sure to check the Hunter Exchange, Lost Exchange, and Mode shop to see if you can buy what you need first, but that's pretty much just it when it comes to priority in terms of stamina usage. So again, stamina management in NTE is mostly about farming what blocks your progression right now while preparing for the next upgrade before it stops you. Pretty simple. As usual, don't try to max every system at once, as this is definitely something that's pretty impossible with the systems at the moment, and otherwise ascend your main characters, upgrade the skills that matter, get usable modules, farm basic materials and arc materials when needed, and as you'd probably expect, make sure that your main DPS is who is upgraded the most, as this will definitely make going through the story and exploring in general much easier. Thanks again for watching though, I'll see you all next time, take care.